It's a shame that so many young people know little, if any, American history. My generation had to learn the preamble to the Constitution, the Gettysburg Address, and the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. That's just the way it was. We took the learning of American history for granted. We were proud to be Americans. It was a combination of military rebellion, civil strife, acts of heroism, acts of treachery, and 1,000 greater and lesser-known clashes that were the elements that brought about a new nation. And maybe more importantly, what our founding fathers did in the 1700s would have an immense impact on the course of world history and the spread of democracy. Most historians agree that the clearest early call for colonial independence was heard in the summer of 1776. The call for freedom went out from Philadelphia a full month before the announcement of the Declaration of Independence. It was on June the 7th, in a session at the Pennsylvania State House, now we call it Independence Hall, that the delegates heard a firebrand revolutionary named Richard Henry Lee of Virginia state in no uncertain terms that the colonies should unite and, in his words, had a right to be free and independent states, absolved of any allegiance to the British crown. Thanks to the colonial postal system designed by Benjamin Franklin, Richard Henry Lee's words spread like wildfire through the colonies. His demand for freedom set the stage for the events of July the 4th, 1776. Debate about freedom for the colonies took place all over the East Coast. By July, the flames of freedom, fanned by some firebrand speeches on the floor of the Continental Congress, brought about a majority of delegates who said they would vote yes if push came to shove. Still, there were some delegates who wanted to stay under the rule of the British Crown. But because there was suddenly a freedom-minded majority, the Continental Congress appointed a committee of 5 to draft a document demanding freedom. Those pioneering 5 men on the Freedom Committee were John Adams, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, Robert R. Livingston, and Thomas Jefferson. It would be Jefferson who penned those immortal words that were announced to the public on the steps of the Pennsylvania State House in Philadelphia. Even though we think of July the 4th, 1776 as the birthday of our freedoms, several other events that year had moved the freedom debate forward. Early in 1776, one of the unsung heroes of the Revolution, another great patriot, Thomas Paine, published a pamphlet called Common Sense. Copies were circulated through the colonies. Then, that incredible speech on the floor of the Congress by Virginia delegate Richard Henry Lee instilled in the minds of the delegates that the window of opportunity was closing quickly and something had to be done then and now. In less than a month, the 5 men who worked to draft the Declaration had finished their job. The vote had been taken. America was on its way to freedom at last. Drafting and announcing the Declaration of Independence was only the start of the American Revolution. A bloody 6-year-long war that killed thousands and ruined many lives lay ahead. Finally, after the Treaty of Paris, the American government was free to make its own way through a sometimes difficult future. During the past 230-plus years, the original Declaration of Independence, written by hand with a quill pen on parchment, has been rolled up, unrolled, and re-rolled hundreds of times. It was stored over the years in countless different federal offices and even in private homes. During World War II, it was stored at Fort Knox. Since 1952, it has been on display under inches of protective glass at the National Archives in Washington. It's a hallowed piece of paper. It is the birth certificate of our democracy. I am Jimmy Weldon.